Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another Doctor Who product review. In today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at the latest release as a part of the Demon Music Group Who vinyl series. It is in fact yet another missing 1960s episode of Doctor Who, featuring William Hartnell as the First Doctor, alongside Peter Purves as Stephen and Maureen O'Brien as Vicky. It is the 1965 story, The Mythmakers, as written by Donald Cotton. Now this is an episode that I have never experienced before in any format. I've not seen the reconstruction, I've not listened to the audio up until now, and I've not read the target novelisation. The last time this happened, I in fact experienced the massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve for the first time, and I absolutely loved that story, so I was very, very excited to see yet another missing 1960s Doctor Who pure historical enter the Who vinyl series. So this release is available to order now from the usual websites, the likes of Amazon do of course have stock. I do believe a number of other retailers as well. The recommended retail price is around £25 to £30. Now usually as a part of this series they do tend to have a limited run. It doesn't have a unique identification number or anything like that, but it does tend to be that once they've been in stock for a while they do eventually sell out, and then they're usually sold out for goods. If you're somebody who likes to collect Doctor Who records and have collected the previous ones within this series, I definitely recommend buying this one soon in order to avoid disappointment. This is of course a double LP release and it is available to purchase now in a rather pretty, glorious cover art as always. The presentation of the Mythmakers record is the usual beautiful uniform design used on the rest of the Who vinyl series. As per, the record comes wrapped in cellophane with the Who vinyl sticker on the front, stating that this set features two 140-gram Trojan Sunset vinyl discs. And what does Trojan Sunset look like, do you ask? Well, I imagine something like this beautiful cover art. As always, I love how this range always does something different, usually having the Doctor absent. Oink Creative and Louise Barden seem to have taken a rather similar approach to that of the Andrew Skilleter target novelisation cover art, focusing on the Trojan horse itself. At the very top we have the inclusion of the modern Doctor Who logo, with an embossed silver finish, looking lovely on the purple sky backdrop. The BBC logo and title of the story are printed in the usual white typeface. At the bottom it states that this is the original television soundtrack, which for those of you who don't know, this is the original audio recording of the transmitted TV serial that thankfully we have due to a fan recording back in the 1960s. The visuals of the story, including telesnaps, do not exist. The visuals are described through narration by Stephen himself, Peter Purves. This is one of those stories where the inclusion of linking narration certainly makes the serial easier to follow. The cover art itself is beautiful, following the theme of using a small collection of colours bringing the artwork to life, including shades of purple, pink, yellow and orange. The vast majority of the sky is taken up with a vibrant fiery skyline, leading to purple at the very top. The houses are picked out in a rather satisfying manner with a lighter yellow design. In the background we have the inclusion of the city of Troy itself, with the looming walls picked out with a series of cracks and lines, giving a lovely rocky texture. The city itself has been designed in various levels, with lots of rectangular and cube-like buildings. In the bottom corner we have the inclusion of the landscape featuring scattered palm trees, as well as the TARDIS exterior box, mimicking the TARDIS's landing location in part 1 of the serial before the TARDIS is moved within the city walls. And finally we have the Trojan horse itself, made up using many wooden planks, building up to create the horse-shaped structure. This includes a very angular head section, complete with hair protruding into the sky. Various ropes are wrapped around the horse as it gets pulled towards the city of Troy itself. Overall this is a really lovely design with lots of very small details, and at first glance it looks rather simplistic. However, once you look closer, it is in fact a very detailed piece of artwork, and as a result is a very effective vinyl cover piece. In summary, another brilliant design and a fresh inspired look for this black and white 1960s historical. This will look brilliant alongside the Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve and Marco Polo, the other pure historical First Doctor stories which have been released a part of the Who vinyl series. So flipping around to the back of the vinyl record sleeve, we have the inclusion of the usual Demon Music Group design, featuring the TARDIS flying within the vortex, and the usual smaller details of the pull-to-open sign and the police public call box signage. As always with this series, the colour palette which has been used on the TARDIS has been inspired by the main artwork itself, and as a result the TARDIS, as well as the vortex in the background, has been coloured nicely with various pinks and purples, looking very vibrant indeed. Towards the bottom we have a series of company details, as well as stating that this episode stars William Hartnell as the First Doctor. The episode is written by Donald Cotton, with linking narration by Peter Purvis. Of course, this is a double LP release, so opening it up to take a look on the inside of the sleeve, in the top hand corner we have the inclusion of the title of the story itself once again, as well as stating that it was first broadcast on the BBC between the 16th of October and the 6th of November 1965. In the other bottom hand corner we have various production credits for the record itself, as well as the 1960s serial. And in the very centre we have the full cast list printed for the entire episode, which is a nice touch. And then of course surrounding this we have various shooting star designs, again following exactly the same colours to that of the cover art itself. Sliding out the vinyl record sleeves, of course this nicely protects the actual record itself and follows the same design to the previous releases. On one side we have the inclusion of the TARDIS box flying within the vortex, once again exactly the same colour as the rest of the cover art, featuring some rather nice use of yellows, purples and pinks. And as we flip over to the opposite side we have the inclusion of the details for that record, including the episode being on side A, side B, side C or side D, as well as the date that it was transmitted. As always, the sleeves do the job and protect the record nicely. The sunset vinyl is exactly what it says on the tin, in keeping with the colour palette of the cover art, which is a really lovely touch. The fiery orange is semi-transparent when held up to the light, unlike some of the previous records being considerably clear. This has been detailed with some lovely purple and red dots, looking like shooting stars. The general design remains the same for the second record, although of course the novelty of vinyl is that each and every record is unique in its own patterning. As always, the novelty with this series is the fact that it is a 1960s episode of Doctor Who with a lovely presentation, an episode of Doctor Who of which that I think is rather overlooked because it is a pure historical. It doesn't feature any returning villains like the Daleks or Cybermen, but also the fact that it is a 1960s episode of Doctor Who as it is anyway, and usually episodes from that era tend to be lower down, I think, in the ratings, partly because this one is fully missing, the telesnaps don't even exist. Therefore, in order to experience this story in its full glory, I did what I usually do. I had this playing on the record turntable, I had the loose cannon reconstruction on my laptop, and then I had the target novelisation as well by my side to kind of refer to every so often, and then I was taking notes at the same time, because the audio for this story is a little bit all over the place. From what I understand, it is actually one of the lower quality missing episodes which has been recorded. However, to me on record it sounded very good for a 1960s episode of Doctor Who that we are in fact very lucky to have an audio recording of at all. But due to there not being telesnaps, I think that this episode is one that is even less accessible than some of the other missing Doctor Who stories that do have telesnaps or have a new animation which has been released, because quite a lot have came out over the past few years. So yes, this episode is one that is unusual. Of course it's a pure historical focused around Troy and of course the Trojan horse itself. We see the departure of Vicky, as well as more sword fights with Stephen, which was also a reoccurring theme within the Massacre too. And of course William Hartnell has a few quirky moments. He's quite fun. I do like the way that Hartnell interacts within pure historicals, although he doesn't particularly do too much, and I say that because the episode itself doesn't particularly do too much. It's a very unusual story that doesn't have too much to stretch it out to the 4 parts, but I generally found it enjoyable. It's not an episode that I kind of think, oh, I'm sort of not really bothered about having it on vinyl. I like the fact that I've got the story on vinyl, I like the fact that I've experienced it, and through this vinyl release, because it has actually came out I've been able to experience this story, because prior to the release of this record, I wouldn't have really had any urge to revisit this story. I kind of enjoyed it. It has its highs, it has its lows, but what Doctor Who story doesn't have its highs and lows? Yes, overall, if you're a fan of Doctor Who vinyls, if you love presentation, again, very much like The Massacre, this one is unique, very much for you. So yeah, if you're a fan of Doctor Who vinyls, you can't really go wrong. Demon Music Group, as always, put a lot of effort into the presentation of these releases. A lovely colour LP to go alongside it as well, and a different way to experience classic series Doctor Who, which I think is what this series is all about. So thank you very much for watching this review. I really hope you have enjoyed it. Do of course stay tuned on The Host Productions for brand new Doctor Who content on a regular basis. And of course, on that note, have a nice day. I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.